In this video, we'll be discussing about Microsoft's GraphRAG, which is an innovative approach developed by Microsoft to enhance the capabilities of large language models in answering complex queries. GraphRAG is a structured hierarchical approach to retrieval-augmented generation or RAG. The GraphRAG process involves extracting a knowledge graph out of raw text, building a community hierarchy, generating summaries for these communities, and then leveraging these structures when performing RAG-based tasks. This framework leverages large language models to extract structured data from unstructured text and build labeled knowledge graphs. A key feature of GraphRAG is its use of graph machine learning algorithms for semantic aggregation and hierarchical analysis of datasets. High-level summary questions like what are the themes of this dataset pose a challenge for traditional RAG systems, as this scenario is a query-focused summarization task, which cannot be solved by data retrieval alone. In RAG, we have limited contextual understanding because of its reliance on retrieved data. With large datasets, it gets even more complicated.
Now let's try our hands on GraphRAG. First, we are going to install GraphRAG package using pip install GraphRAG. In my case, I've already installed GraphRAG, so I'm not installing it again. In the next step, I'll be creating an input directory. As we can see, a RAG test input directory got created. Inside it, there is an input folder. Now in this input folder, I'll be placing the document for which I want to run GraphRAG on. You can place any document provided it is in .txt format. In my case, I have placed an ESG document. We will now initialize our workspace, create an index out of the provided data, initialize configurations for the variables to work, and provide root directory where the data is stored. This will take some time as it will create a bunch of files in our current workspace. It created output with log. As you can see, the log is currently empty. These are the default prompts that it will be using to create knowledge graphs. These prompts are quite comprehensive. You can customize it if it's needed for your use case. Now, the .env file is where you have to place your API key, whether it is OpenAI API key or as your OpenAI API key. Or you can also place any open source LLMs API key here. Now coming to settings file. Yeah, in this file, you have to set all the configurations, give your API key. And if you're using Azure OpenAI, then use this, or OpenAI chat, use this. And then you have to specify the model name. You can also customize these settings if you want to. You'll also have to provide an embeddings model key as well as the model name. Don't forget to save the file. Now we are going to initiate index creation. This process will take a little time. It will go through the entire documents, identify different entities that are present in the documents, create relationships between them, create knowledge graphs, build communities based on them, create summarization of different communities. This process will take a bit of time. Now the indexing is complete. There are different artifacts that it has stored in the folder. Now we are ready to run queries on our dataset. We have to give the link to where the dataset is stored. We have to choose the method, whether we want to use global or local method, and then we can post a question. All right, as we can see, the model has given us an answer. The major themes that it finds in the documents are commitment to renewable energy, carbon neutrality goals, interconnectedness of sustainability metrics, influence of regulatory frameworks, enhancing ESG. Now let's see if the model can dig a little deeper and get into the specifics of the data. We will now be using the local method. Let's see what answer it gives. All right, the question was what ESG framework is the organization using? And the model has identified the key frameworks, that is IFRS Foundation and World Economic Forum standards, Greenhouse Gas Protocol, TCFD recommendations. Yeah, it pretty much summarizes most of the frameworks that the organization that the report is talking about. So overall, the results have been pretty good.
The advantages of using GraphRAG include enhanced contextual understanding as it creates structured relationships. There is an improved precision in information retrieval. Graphs can dynamically represent changing relationships with new information. It can also reduce redundancy as it identifies relevant connections rather than retrieving similar information. There are also a few limitations associated with this method. GraphRag makes a lot of LLM calls, which can lead to slow response times. This also makes the method expensive. Depending on your use case, different chunking methods, improved indexing techniques, and advanced RAG approaches may generate better results.